What's the real secret to a lasting, passionate relationship? Well, it might not be what you think. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating study from Drexel University that really gets to the heart of it all. This powerful link between our need for emotional safety and, you guessed it, physical intimacy.
I mean, it's a question so many couples ask, right? Why does something that used to feel so easy, so natural, suddenly become this source of stress, of disconnection? It's a super common challenge, and it turns out the answer has a lot more to do with our brains than our bodies.
And look, the stakes here are incredibly high. The research shows that a whopping 50 to 70% of all relationship distress for unhappy couples, they say it comes from sexual issues. So this isn't some minor problem, right? It's often at the very core of why a relationship starts to crumble. So, what is really going on?
Well, to really get it, we need to go way back, not just to the beginning of the relationship, but to the beginning of, well, us. It all comes down to something called our personal attachment blueprint. Okay, so this whole idea is based on something called attachment theory. The main idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. We are literally hardwired for connection. And those very first relationships we have, with our caregivers, they create this kind of internal working model. Think of it like a blueprint that sets up all of our expectations for how love and trust and safety are supposed to feel later on. And this blueprint, it basically goes one of two ways. If you have a secure attachment, you see your partner as a safe haven. You just trust that they're going to be there for you. But with an insecure attachment, that trust gets a little shaky. You might feel anxious, always kind of looking for reassurance. Or you might go the other way and become distant, avoiding closeness just to protect yourself from getting hurt. You see the difference, right? One builds connection, and the other, well, it pretty much guarantees disconnection.
And when that feeling of disconnection takes over, couples get stuck in these patterns that the researchers call, and I love this name, demon dialogues. It's such a perfect description for a really painful experience.
So these aren't just your regular old arguments. No, these are predictable, negative loops that completely hijack the relationship. It's like you're both caught in a dance and you both know all the steps, but that dance always, always ends with both of you feeling hurt and totally alone. Let's break down the three most common ones.
First up, we've got find the bad guy. Oh man, this is the classic blame game. It's just this vicious cycle where both of you are pointing fingers, both of you feel like the victim, and the whole conversation is just filled with you always and you never. In this dance, nobody ever wins. Ever. Then there's the protest polka. The research says this is the most common and the most destructive pattern of them all. Sound familiar? One person pursues, right, often with criticism, with demands, just desperate to get some kind of reaction. And the other person, feeling totally attacked, just withdraws. They shut down. And you can see the toxic cycle, right? The more one person pushes, the more the other pulls away, leaving both of them feeling completely and utterly abandoned.
And finally, you have freeze and flee. This is the quietest one, and honestly, it might be the saddest. This is where both people have just given up. They pull away from each other to avoid any more pain. The fighting stops, sure, but so does any hint of connection. The whole dance just grinds to a halt, and what's left behind is this icy emptiness. Okay, so those are the problems. Those are the dances. But what's the solution, right? How do you change the music and learn a new dance? Well, that's exactly what this Drexel University study wanted to figure out with something they called the Hold Me Tight solution.
So the researchers, they had this big question. Could a super short, just one-day workshop actually give couples the real tools they need to see these patterns and break out of them? They decided to put it to the test.
What they did was actually pretty clever. They took this well-known program called Hold Me Tight, which is based on a really effective method called emotionally focused therapy, and they packed all its key lessons into a single, high-impact day for 15 different couples. The whole idea was to make this powerful info way more accessible to everyday people.
And the workshop was all built around these four core conversations. Okay, so first step, just learning to recognize those demon dialogues we talked about. Step two, finding the raw spots, the real emotional triggers that kick off that negative dance in the first place. Third, learning how to be more open and responsive to each other. And finally, using all that new emotional safety to bond through sex and touch. It's a really clear, logical path. So, the million-dollar question, did it actually work? Can one day, just one single day, really make a difference? Okay, let's get into what they found. All right, the first big finding was simple, but it was huge. The one-day format itself was a massive success. Get this, 93% of the couples who started the program finished it. That's incredible. The therapist could deliver it exactly as planned, and the couples themselves said it was really valuable. That's a big deal. It means this kind of relationship education can actually be made accessible. And this went way beyond just feeling good. They had the hard data to back it up. So they gave the couples a test on these relationship concepts, and their average scores jumped from a 6.1 to a 7.5 after just that one day. That's not just a little bump. That's a statistically significant leap in understanding. And here's the real kicker. It wasn't just a temporary boost. This knowledge actually stuck with them. When the researchers tested the couples again 6 weeks later, their scores were still high. So they really, truly learned and held on to a new way of thinking about their relationship. But forget the numbers for a second. Just listen to the human impact. One person in the study said this: "I feel more connected to him and calmer. I feel more secure in our relationship." I mean, that is what this is all about, turning that knowledge into a real feeling of safety and connection. Now, things like sexual satisfaction and overall relationship happiness, they did show positive trends, which is great. But the researchers found that the biggest, most powerful, immediate change was something even more foundational. The workshop gave these couples a new language, a shared way to finally understand what was happening to them when they felt disconnected. And that brings us to the crucial point of all this. The very first step to building a stronger bond, to having better intimacy, might not be what we always think. It's not about more date nights or big romantic gestures. It's knowledge. It's understanding the why behind your disconnection, because that is the key that unlocks the how of getting reconnected. Which leaves us with this final, really powerful idea that just reframes everything. Maybe the most important question we can ask in a relationship isn't, "Do you love me?" but instead, a question that gets right to the heart of that attachment blueprint. Are you there for me? Can I truly count on you? Because when the answer to that question is a solid, confident yes, well, that's when real intimacy has a chance to truly thrive. And that's our look into the science of a secure relationship. Because when we start to understand our own blueprint, we can start building a relationship where the answer to, "Are you there for me?" is always, always yes. Thanks so much for watching.